What our brains are meant to do is it's meant to solve problems, and it's also meant to find problems to protect you. The amount of information we absorb in a year now is far more than we ever absorbed in our lifetime, like 100 years ago. At what point are we actually strategizing on our performance level the way that other high performers do? Supplements help. Yes, for some people it helps a lot. Does the mindset, the breath work, the yoga, the sleep hygiene, all the things, they all help. What is the fastest way that we can get you to optimize the way that your brain and body functions so that you get that max productivity per day?
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Conscious Leader Podcast, where I introduce guests who are consciously leading in their industry. Now, if you are new to the channel, welcome. And if you happen to like this episode, don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Today, I have a wonderful, wonderful guest with me. Her name is MJ Gordon, and she is going to be sharing all things business, mompreneur. We're going to tap into all kinds of things. And I didn't want to give it away. Hello, MJ. How are you?
I'm doing great, Delisa. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so much for being here. I didn't even want to give away exactly all the things that you can be doing with us, but that's why I shared the mompreneur piece as well, because you are an incredible woman. You're a wife, a mother, a businesswoman. You've been doing these things for so many years. And so that's why I have you here to really, in 2025, encourage my audience, of their capabilities to push past their limiting beliefs. Yes. So please share with us who you are, who you serve, and how are you positively influencing lives?
Thank you. My name's MJ Gordon. I'm a high performance coach. I serve entrepreneurs, mompreneurs. We help them get more time and energy by rooting down into systems that help you automatically recover your energy. This is because when your brain and body are working optimally, then your output, productivity, motivation, satisfaction, fulfillment, all that goes through the roof. And we do this based on science and functional health. So everything is metric driven and backed by data.
I like that. You didn't even say backed by science. You said backed by data because, data is the new currency right now.
Well, it's backed by science
yes,
too.
I know. But I just have to call it out. I thought it was so great as well because people they want proof. And they want proof that, and they want to see may not understand the analytics, but they kind of want to see it to be like, yes, MJ knows what she's talking about. I want to thank you. You were on my B2B Live in 2024.
So great.
Yes, it was such a huge hit. So many people even now still comment across all the platforms. And you shared with us on that about energy. Raising the energy. And I want us to start there before we get into anything with high performance, because we need the energy to be able to perform at a high level.
Yeah.
So can you share a bit more about the energy and what we need to energize ourselves, our teams?
Yeah. I mean, energy is everything, right? If you wake up in a bad mood and that rubs off on your family and your team or the way you're responding to things, but at the same time, the type of energy that your body's producing or not producing, and is it supporting your ability to sustain the things that you want to do? And it kind of works like a domino effect, right? So it's like maybe today I guzzle up on caffeine, I get all my work done, I feel amazing, I'm productive. And then tomorrow, I might not notice it, but I still need that caffeine and I keep going, so on and so forth. And over time, that creates what we call an energy deficit. So the system begins to run suboptimally. It's kind of like trying to charge your phone part of the way. And how many of you guys are at a place where when your phone gets to a certain point, you charge it and then it doesn't hold the charge anymore? And you have to, now fortunately Apple lets you replace the batteries, but back then you had to replace the whole phone. You and your body, you have one body. So if you don't take care and audit how much energy, take the inventory, and to know very specifically how much energy cost, and then how much energy recovery it takes you to do X, Y, and Z. This is eventually why you start hitting walls and you start becoming less motivated. Things are not so fun anymore. And you start to kind of lose yourself, right? You're like, who is this person? Like, I'm not so excited about my goals. There's kind of a like a dropping of the shoe
Mhm.
feeling, and you just don't feel as joyous when you're around your kids, or, all those things. And a lot of my entrepreneurs wonder why, like, is there something wrong with me? Am I reaching too high? Do I need a better strategy? And it's like, no, it actually comes down to the fact that your body and your mind is tired. And it's really hard to be happy and motivated when the system has errors.
Ooh, the system has errors. I want you to touch on that. System error. When,
Yeah.
like, I don't want system error when I'm down and out for the count. I want to be able to read my system error on my car before, like, I'm using this
Yeah.
analogy, but you have the sticker that says, in 60,000 kilometers, you need to get an oil change, right?
Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
does that mean that at 60,000 kilometers, I'm actually going to go and do the oil change? Is it really needed? It depends sometimes. Sometimes you keep it there. Sometimes you might wait a week or two and then you get it. You get the oil change done. So, system error. Can you go into that and share with us how we can know the difference of?
Yeah. Oh, well, that's a great question, Delisa, because most of us are getting our oil changed. Most of us are doing that 100,000-mile checkup or whatever, is prescribed. But if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, and especially like a mompreneur, or you're doing multiple things, you're not a basic vehicle. You're trying to operate like a race
Yeah.
car. So if you look at NASA race cars, what do? Every how many laps
Yeah.
they do, they change everything. They got a whole team, the pit stops, right? So as an entrepreneur, how many pit stops are you making, and are you strategic about it? Because if you look at the race car, they are very strategic about these pit stops. How efficient are they? What kind of wheels? How many people are on board so that they can get up and running fast and safely? But most of us don't do that with our brain and our bodies. That's why it is data driven, not because it's trendy, but because we're shooting in the dark. We're like, oh, I just need more caffeine. Oh, I need to sleep in. And we don't even realize that there are system errors beyond just energy. It's what's causing the energy deficit. And there hasn't been a single person in our programs or coaching that has come in and taken these functional labs and come back completely like, oh, your system's perfect. No, there's always something,
Mhm.
right, that can be improved, or that is maybe causing a drag. It's like if your wheel is out of balance, like one wheel might be a little out of balance. We get them realigned, and now you can move faster with less energy, less drag.
Such a great analogy, and I watched all those real life stories about like Lamborghini and like Ford on
Yeah.
Netflix because I actually don't watch too many movies, but I do like to watch documentaries, and I do love to watch like the history stuff. I love to see how things work, especially successful entrepreneurs. How did they do what they have done in their time?
Yeah.
And we have more resources, and we're more burnt out, stressed out, overwhelmed, and burdened than they ever were.
Yeah.
But they had less resources, so to speak. But as you mentioned, it's because they're getting the oil change. They know when to make the pit stops. In saying the pit stops, and of course the data and the science, and you're working with them one on one, how important is their mental health? And I just don't mean mental health affirmations. I want us to go deep down into it. How is their mind affecting their mood, affecting their energy, affecting their very spirit, which will translate into them being all the other things they need to be?
Yeah, and it's great because you mentioned how back in the day we had less resources, but we were a little more
Mhm.
stable, right? Um, they had the time to make the pit stops, but also everything took effort. And it sounds kind of backwards, but as humans, it's kind of like when okay, let's think first about a dog. If you don't walk the
Mhm.
dog, throw the ball for the dog, stimulate their mind, they get
Mhm.
crazy. They get neurotic, right? They start tearing up your sofa and getting, what's that, detachment, separation anxiety, right? Because what we're doing is we're taking biologically, evolutionarily, what a dog needs in the wild, and we're kind of replicating those needs here at the house. Like the ball is their need to hunt and chase
Mhm.
rodents or
Yeah.
animal prey. And the exercise is their, the way that they kind of move about and all that, what we call total daily energy expenditures. We're replicating those things. As humans, we're kind of in the same situation. We've, in a form, domesticated ourselves in this area where we have all these resources and all this stuff that so easily comes to us, but our brains and our bodies haven't evolved as quickly as our environment has. So what's happening is we aren't getting that daily exercise, that daily challenge. And what our brains are meant to do is it's meant to solve problems. And it's also meant to find problems to protect you so that you survive. But we're not dealing with brush fire or lions and tigers anymore. We're dealing with traffic and work emails. And on top of it, we're being bombarded left and right by social media and advertisement and all this information overload. I think I read somewhere, and I'm not sure if it's true. I think Jim Quick wrote this in his
Mhm.
book, so double check his research. But he said something to the fact that the amount of information we absorb in a year now is far more than we ever absorbed in our lifetime, like
Mhm.
100 years ago. So that is so much to take on in our brains. So now those pit stops that were naturally sort of implemented into our lifestyle, we have to create those intentionally, because if we don't, we aren't getting what we naturally need. So that's why, even though with our resources, we are so overwhelmed and we feel so overloaded.
Mhm. Oof. I see now why we started off with energy and the system checkup, and we go straight into the mindset and the mental resilience and mental strength that is going to need in order for us to have the high performance output that we're looking
Yeah,
for. And
yeah,
there's a lot of talk, of course, and I'm sure you observed this too on social medias, and ever we're talking about do this and you'll be a high performer, have this and you'll do that, take this supplement and do that. That's not your approach, obviously. Like, of course, you've evolved, you, as you said, you're working one-on-one. This is backed not only by science with data plus your own experience. You're not just coming at this because you read it in a book somewhere.
yeah,
there's
yeah.
there's a lot of that. As you know, there's a lot of that. What level of mental strength does an entrepreneur need in order for him or her to have that level of high performance, to take themselves from where they are to challenge them to get to that next level in a healthy way?
Yeah. Um, it's great because it's not like there's a specific
Yeah.
quantification, right? When we test your systems, you develop an awareness and an actual numerical, or let's call it like amount in your head of what you specifically need for your system.
Mhm.
And it's different for everybody, but it's not, for most of us, it's not about poor mental health. It's
Mm.
really about system errors that create poor mental health. Because if you, whether it's on a physical or even a mental and emotional capacity, if you're starting off carrying, let's just say 100 pounds, and we're fixing to climb Mount
Yeah.
Everest, the person who has a lighter load is going to have more of an advantage to have a longer stamina and higher resiliency,
Mm.
because every step they take is lighter, right? You have to have more energy, more effort to carry an extra 100 pounds up the hill. So when you don't create the appropriate recovery for your energy and for your system to wind down, we call it cooling your jets. Your system is closer or at risk to overheating.
Mm.
So, if you want to have the mental strength, the emotional stamina, the physical capacity to do whatever it is you want to do. The formula is simple. Your stress output has to be lower than your recovery. That looks different for everybody. And what we play with is a couple things. Just like climbing Mount Everest, how do we get your system stronger so that you can carry more, right?
Mhm.
How do we unload, number two, so that you're not overstressed, overtaxed? We need to find what we call your edge. It's your threshold of resiliency. And then we work that edge like you would in exercise. So we put on the appropriate amount of weight that's not too much that will, cause injury. And this works the same way mentally and emotionally. And then we take the appropriate time to recover and build the muscles. Okay. And then we also set up yourself so that you reduce the risk of injury or being put out. So, like, do you have proper form? Are you breathing at the appropriate times? Is your spine and your core in alignment? From exercise to mind and emotion, it's the same thing. Do you have the right stress management? Do you have a good mindset and perspective? Do you have things to fall back on when things get tough, like a community or spirituality? Like, these things are so important and critical, not only to our personal well-being, but in how we show up and at what level we show up as business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and parents, right? So did that answer your
Yes, it
question?
absolutely did. And when you mentioned cooling your jets, I was like, oh, I want her to share a bit more about cooling your jets. But then you did. You answered it right then and there. You didn't wait for me. But that's okay. I love it. Yeah.
I could say too much about
No,
this.
but it's great because we're always hearing about self care, and it's great to have the self care. But now as we're using these analogies with the car and the race cars and the engine and the engine, the energy that we're coming with that we need daily, and all of these different things. Now you're saying about cooling the jets down. It's really cool because in a vehicle, any vehicle, if you don't have transmission fluid, your engine gets shot. That happened to me in my 20s. This is how I know so well because all I kept seeing was the needle where the hot and cold part is was going up and up, and I was like, oh, doesn't matter. Why? Because one, I didn't do my oil change. I didn't know anything about it, and I was just ignorant to it. I just thought, oh, it's okay. My parents would do it, even though it was my car, and they did not. Right. So now I have to take accountability and responsibility for myself, and I had to pay the financial burden of a busted transmission, which
Yeah.
sucks because it costs a lot of
Yeah.
money.
Lot.
That's not even counting the tow truck that I had to pay at the time
Yeah.
because I didn't have the number. I didn't even have the number in my phone to call a tow truck. Um, so
You will never
I will
forget.
never forget
Not
how many decades later, almost 2 decades later, I'm here talking about it. So
Well, see, that's what a lot of people do, Delisa, is they think that, okay, there's some good strategies out
yes.
there. We talk about millionaire morning routine, get up, cold
Mhm.
plunge, work out really hard right away. But what a lot of people don't realize is they haven't done their system checks
Mhm.
yet. And so they think that all of this is going to help when actually their system is still in a recovery phase, not in a, move that needle or push what we call working the edge phase, right? So recovery comes first. We have to make sure the system is really clean and smooth working before we can then scale that energy and how much stress we take on. So a lot of people don't really take into account where on the journey they're at or what their body needs, and that's why the system is having errors. It's like, well, this should technically work, but it's not working for me. And that's why we test. That's why we need the data. We need to see visually what's going on in your brain and body to make sure that what it is that we're doing is actually effective into optimizing how you feel, how clear your
Yeah.
mental, capacity is a day, and how well you recover.
I I thank you for the work that you do. I know it is not easy. It is not an easy job. I will share. My daughter has scoliosis, early onset, and of course it can be reversible, but it is painful for her. And literally, like until today, she had physical therapy today,
Mm.
but earlier in the week she was in pain, like severe pain. She could not sleep at night. That means I can't sleep at night. And so
Mhm.
she does Bowen therapy because I prefer, like, I wanted to try something non-invasive. Even though we do have a
Yeah.
chiropractor, I want something non-invasive that can gently stimulate the body as well as activate any sort of and release the emotional healing. So this comes back to some, the output that she's doing. On top of that, she writes books. And now in
Mhm.
2025, one of her goals is to start hosting events for
Mhm.
like young leaders, and that means that they're going to be doing some of the activities that she likes to do. And so we've done a couple of those. And so with these in-person events now, with the scoliosis, and she's doing these treatments, she has to show up, right?
Mhm.
She has to show up, but she
Mhm.
has to show up and she has to also understand how her body works. So we're going through this
Mhm.
whole process of what do you need, how do we ease the pain, what minerals or supplements your body is needing, and not just giving a regular multivitamin full of sugar, but
Mhm.
specifically, like, we have to go in, we have to get the blood test to see, where is their deficiency, where does she need to detox, like, which is, taking a soak in magnesium flakes, right, to stress it out. And I bring this out because when regardless of our age, but we're speaking to entrepreneurs here, and mompreneurs as well. When we're resetting our system and we feel a kink in our body, or something is out of alignment in our vehicle, so to speak, which is our bodies, we still have to show up,
Mhm.
right? And yes, there are things that are happening, but it's like, well, how am I going to show up to be my best, and at the same time recognize where, like, what I can do, where's my limit, and do it safely and effectively. And so that's what I believe you and your organization, you and your company, that is how you're helping entrepreneurs, because people are coming to you with their system out of alignment. You're not
Mhm.
a physiotherapist or a chiropractor or anything, but you kind of are in your own way. You're helping them check their systems, and you're saying, well, you may not need all the cold plunge, you may not need this, you may not need that. This is the issue. And then you have to go through all of these different checks, and then they have to implement it in real time, because
Mhm.
if they don't implement it, then they can't see if it's working or not. And this is not guessing. This is a formula, of course, that you guys have. So I just wanted to share the value that you are providing, uh, because it's not only impacting one person. Really, when you help an entrepreneur or a mompreneur, whoever it is, a business person, a professional, you're helping them and, like, the 10 people around them. And I don't know if you even
Mhm.
recognize that, because
Mhm.
if they don't, if that one person isn't working, it's affecting their house. That means income's not
Yeah.
coming in. It's affecting their business. That means that how many employees that they have, do I need to shut down the business or not? Um,
Yeah.
and so we always think of high performance like we got to go, 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 go. But you said, no, let's go back in the olden days a little bit, not too much, some in the olden days. And, let's recognize where you need uh, refinement, what needs to fix, or I don't know if you want to use that word fix, right? But like, what needs to be transformed, I guess, or evolved or healed, to be able to get you from where you are now in your performance to that higher level of performance of where you need to be, without comparing it to others. Is that a fair uh, analogy, I guess, to say of it? Or
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think it's daunting,
Mhm.
but the way that we set up our formula or our process is smallest amount of effort, highest
Yeah,
ROI. So what is, we start with the easiest things
yeah,
first that can be managed. So we always say, like, because how is it going to work if you're busy
hmm,
already? This is why we had to go to science. So yes, does the supplements help? Yes, for some people it helps a
Mhm.
lot. Does the mindset, the breath work, the yoga, the sleep hygiene, all the things, they all help. But what is the fastest way
Mhm.
that we can get you to optimize the way that your brain and body functions so that you can be the max productivity per day? That's why we test. And so the idea is that we are trying to do the most amount of things that we do. I mean, like, it's entrepreneurship, right? Like, our to-do lists never end. It is mountains and mountains. And on top of it, we care so deeply. We care about our mission, we care about our team, we care about our families and our communities. It's a lot to hold on. But what's interesting to me is just because we're not on a track running for miles a week or on the basketball court jumping and shooting
Mhm.
hoops, if you ask any high level high performance athlete what's a part of their strategy, so many of them will talk about recovery
Mhm.
and how important recovery is. And that's the only way you can get stronger. But it's interesting to me because as high performer entrepreneurs and business owners, we don't think about that. We just go, 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 go until the clock says, okay, I need to go to
Mhm.
sleep, or, and then it's interesting because we have gaps in our schedule and we're just like, fill it up. Yes, 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 yes,
Mhm.
yes. But at what point are we actually
Yeah.
strategizing
Yeah.
on our performance level the way that other high performers do? Just
Mhm.
because they're doing it physically does not change the fact that we are trying to press and increase our capacity mentally and
Yeah.
emotionally and physically as well.
Yes, 100%. And that's a valid point. All right. So I'm gonna ask you a question about, like, hypothetically. I don't know if it's, a senior exec sees
Mhm.
you, following you on the social channels, and say, you know what, my team is doing well. I'm in a successful organization. We're doing good, but I feel like something's missing. Like, I sense something's missing. Um, there's a high turnover, for example, on their team. Is it me or is it them? And how would you kind of go about this hypothetical situation?
Hypothetically, I mean, if we follow the level up
Yes.
process, the first thing is always audit.
Mm.
I mean, this is what the testing is, right? It's get the data. So, are we doing an exit meeting if there's a turnover? What is the
Mm.
feedback from that? Yeah, because I can sit here and shoot in the dark and say, well, maybe it's me. Let me read a ton of leadership books. I
Mm.
mean, like, what we always do is like, let's collect a bunch of information and just like roll with like 5 different new strategies, right? Because we're all so excited to just do. But get the data, right? So first, is there what is the level of satisfaction? Where's the level of cohesiveness with the team? Do they
Mm.
even feel like they have a team? Is there a mission statement involved? Is it you and your leadership? And then you can move forward and figure out what's the next thing.
That was so easy for you. I thought I could. You're like, we got to do the audit. Either way, you go. You're just like, this is. We just got to start there, And I know
You
you've
got
been
it. I
said
mean,
that, but yeah, no, that's so
yeah.
great. Please share with us, what does it mean to be a conscious leader in your industry?
It's a good question. I think the word conscious means with intent, right? So leadership means to guide, inspire, to set an example. So I think to move forward purposefully, um, to set an example, right, for those that you lead. Um, Consciously. I mean, you have to have intention, and that I think it's so interesting because it brings me back to one of the things that we really try to get down to the root of with Level Up and the clients. A lot of times we move forward with the intent of, I want to scale my business. I just want to improve and scale my business. But we don't get to the deeper levels and think, intentionally, like we're intentional on this surface level, right? Like we're intentional with our marketing strategy. We're intentional with, it's kind of like, let's take it back to the car. We're intentional with the roads that we're driving on, which freeways we're taking, but we're not taking the time to say, well, are these the best car tires that I've put on my car? Is this the best exhaust? Like, is this the best fluid I'm using in my system, or the oil, right? Like, get all these little tweaks, just like the metrics we use in marketing. It's like all the little tweaks add up. So if you are conscious from the root up, then you can really succeed without friction of intention, right? Because conflict happens when two things don't align. So it could be, this is what I want, but my experience isn't reflecting that, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So I think if you're conscious, then you're really thinking about things intentionally and with purpose from the root. I mean, of all in all
mm-hmm.
levels.
Oh, okay. I like it. I like it. That was a
Just pulling that out of my hair.
well. No, you were just you thought about it. You broke that. You're the only person that has. When I asked them this question, you actually was like, okay, well, it's this and then that. This is the meaning, and what does it mean for me? And so we're getting a real time response, and
Yeah,
I think it's great.
thinking out loud.
Well, no, because it's great. Sometimes you gotta. That's just called real life, and that's how we got to do it. How can someone who is looking for your services, how can we reach out to you?
Oh, that's awesome. Instagram is one of the best ways right now. So you can search MJ Gordon, or my handle is Marin Jaden. That's what MJ stands for. And yeah, just come say hi. I check my DMs all the time. So
Well, I'm glad you check your DMs all the time. Thanks for letting us know. But yeah, no, so thank you so very much for joining me today. Do you have any final
yeah.
words?
Just thank you so much, Lisa. You're such a pleasure. And I mean, really a gift to our community, just for you to collect such amazing community and, knowledge and bring it here for everybody. I truly appreciate you. And it's an honor to know you and be a part of what you do
Oh,
here.
well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'm so in awe of the work that you're doing, the leadership that you present, of yourself, of your business. You are a shining example, and you keep it real, not fake, like, oh, there's this, but you keep it authentic. As you said, let's do an audit first, right? You have the
Yeah.
practical, logical approach, but then you have the empathetic, nurturing side as well. That you found this beautiful and brilliant balance that is so needed, for many women uh,
Mm.
out there. And I'm glad and grateful to have met you now. But I remember in my 20s, there was none like that, because we
Mm.
were so taught how to be masculine, when
Yeah.
we are in certain roles, that we forgot our femininity, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah. Same. Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us today. Don't forget to connect with MJ on Instagram. And she is absolutely right. She's always checking her DMs. She responds right away. But most importantly, her posts are value posts. They're not cookie cutter stuff, they're real value posts. And when you get there, if you actually start implementing it before you even reach out, as you start implementing it, you will start seeing transformation in your life. You'll start seeing the evolution of yourself. And you will not be able to stop and be like, no, this is enough. No, you will have to reach out and say, I need more. There's something deeper. There's a deeper need for me to evolve, to release and let go of what's no longer serving. So I encourage you to reach out to MJ. Thank you guys for joining us today. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you in another episode of the Conscious Leader podcast.